Hello and welcome to Profiles and Issues, the cable TV talk show that has in-depth interviews with community leaders on critical issues in the news. I'm your host, Dennis Rudin. Join us each month on Cablevision, Channel 75, Verizon Fios, Channel 34, or on your computer or iPhone on YouTube.com and www.greenbergny.com. Go to the left-hand green side of the website page and press Public Access TV on demand to view the broadcast right away. We want to make the program interactive with you, the audience, so please email us at profile.issue@yahoo.com. Let us know your opinion about the program and the issues presented. Our topic for this broadcast is the environment and climate change, myth or reality. My special guest tonight is Greta Zarro, the New York organizer for Food and Water Watch. Greta, welcome and thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks, Dennis.
Could you briefly explain the role of your organization and its objective?
Yes, so Food and Water Watch is a nonprofit environmental organization, and our mission is to keep our water clean and protect our food and make sure that our communities have a sustainable climate that we can live in for our generation and generations to come. So we work with volunteers and activists to use grassroots organizing and build our people power and use that people power to put pressure on our government officials like Senator Schumer or Governor Cuomo to do their job, right, which is to protect the health and safety of our communities and environment.
Great. What is your specific role?
Yes, so I'm one of the New York organizers. I work in our Brooklyn office and I live here in Westchester, and I run our monthly volunteer meetings in White Plains. So we meet every month and we talk about our campaigns and ways to get involved, like upcoming rallies or which legislators to call about which issues.
Now, when the volunteers come in, are they familiar with terms such as fracking? Do they understand what's happening, with regard to climate change?
Yeah, I mean, I would say most of our volunteers started with the fracking fight here in New York. So, as you know, a couple of years ago, we won a fracking ban here in New York State. So a lot of our volunteers have been working on this issue for years and were part of that successful campaign. And now, since then, we've continued working to ban pipelines and other fossil fuel infrastructure. And now, of course, with the Trump administration, working to defend our climate from his policies.
Just for the general public, if they may not be aware, could you just give a definition of what fracking is?
Yes. So fracking is a dangerous method of oil and gas drilling. It uses millions of gallons of water, competing with farmers and with community members for that water resource. And it also uses many toxic chemicals, hundreds of carcinogenic, cancer-causing chemicals that we don't even know because the companies don't disclose what's in that fluid. And so it's drilling into the ground using high pressure to get oil and gas.
And this actually affects the food and water that we eat? Because your organization is Food and Water Watch.
Yes, and that's actually how Food and Water Watch got into the fracking fight, is because of fracking's impact on water. We've seen there are many documented cases of how this dangerous method of oil and gas drilling can cause water contamination, contaminating people's aquifers. You might have seen cases in Pennsylvania where people have shown they've hold up gallons of water, dirty water that's undrinkable because of fracking. So those fracking wells, are subject to leaks and spills that can contaminate water.
Now, when we talk about the term climate change, are we talking about just the temperature of the Earth's surface, or are we talking about also how it changes various conditions?
Right.
I am not a scientist, but I remember in my basic science courses, we need trees because trees give off carbon dioxide, and humans need that to breathe. So am I on track with the food chain and how all of that works?
I mean, climate change is an all-encompassing process, right? It's about these greenhouse gas emissions that humans are emitting through fracking and the use of fossil fuels, and that's warming our climate. And then that has a series of impacts, right? We're seeing more and more drastic weather patterns with droughts and flooding, Superstorm Sandy that affected us here in New York and across the Northeast. Every month it feels like we're seeing the hottest January ever, the hottest February ever, and that has so many effects. It has effects on water. Water scarcity is now a major issue across the country and the globe, and that has effects on food production. Actually, the UN predicts that due to climate change and water scarcity and land degradation, that food production will be impacted. 1/4 will be lost by 2050.
Now, is this a situation where you can educate farmers, or is it just where you have to go to the large corporations and say stop it? And you know, possibly this is a naive question on my part, but if they know that it's harmful to the environment, why are they still doing it?
Right.
Is it purely greed?
Right. I mean, of course it's about money, right? This is a lucrative business for the oil and gas industry. They figured out a couple years ago that they could frack and that they could extract this oil and gas. It was deep underground using this dangerous method. So it's all about money, right? And like I said earlier, the only way we're going to win is by using our collective voices. So engaging everyone, engaging farmers, engaging urban people. I mean, everyone across the spectrum can get involved and use our voice as citizens in this country and put pressure on our elected officials. And it's up to them. It's up to Senator Schumer, and it's up to Governor Cuomo and elected officials at all levels to make sure that we have policies that protect our food, water, and climate, right? And without those regulations, the companies can go wild and do whatever they want.
All right, I just want to follow up on that point that you made. You said it's all about money. You were nice enough to provide a chart, selected donations by oil and natural gas companies. The figures are just staggering here. Carrizo, oil and gas, 5 million. Chesapeake Energy, 5 million. Hess Corporation, 4.4 million. So all of these corporations, they throw in all that type of money. Now the other thing is, fortunately, many of these representatives are retired, but there's another chart you have of former elected officials. Mm-hmm. And the firm Holland and Knight gave Representative Jim Davis, who's retired, $420,000. I guess this is for campaigns. Representative Vic Fazio, $680,000. Representative Bill Brewster, $360,000.
Yeah.
I'm just giving, some examples.
Yeah,
so in other words, what your organization is doing is you're trying to go to the little guys or the average person, and you're trying to organize us from so that we can fight this.
Exactly, and that's one of our major concerns with the Trump administration is we've seen that he's filled his cabinet with corporate cronies, with former fossil fuel executives like the ex-CEO of ExxonMobil, Rex Tillerson, is now leading up the Department of State. And we've seen that his corporate cabinet is filled with representatives who have received millions of dollars from the oil and gas industry.
I also understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, that they cut the fund, or he recommended with his executive order, that they cut the EPA spending by 31%.
Yes, that's a major concern of ours. So this has not happened yet. We still have the opportunity to reverse this. It's a proposal. So he's proposed in his budget proposal to cut 1/3 of the budget for the Environmental Protection Agency. And the Environmental Protection Agency is so crucial to regulating our air, our water, to cleaning up pollution like the Hudson River and the Gowanus Canal in Brooklyn. So the EPA oversees all of these projects and oversees our environment, and he wants to cut 1/3 of the budget. He wants to lay off 1/5 of the workers and eliminate key programs. So we're calling on Senator Schumer as the Senate Minority Leader to stand up to this budget proposal and to use his power and his visibility as the Senate Minority Leader. The Congress has the opportunity to block this budget proposal, and the final vote is made in October. So we have several months to organize and to tell our elected officials that we want them to stand up for the EPA and not to defund it.
Okay, I'm going to follow up with that, how you organize the people, but before I do, obviously, what is the alternative to fracking? What do you want people to know about?
Mm-hmm. Well, the alternative, Food and Water Watch, supports 100% transition to renewable energy. That means wind and solar and geothermal, real clean energy, not fracking, not dangerous nuclear power. 100% transition to renewables by 2035. And we know that the technology is there. We've seen other countries like Germany taking the lead on this. Actually, a recent analysis showed that there are more clean energy jobs in the U.S. than fossil fuel jobs. So this is actually a job creator, and we just need, again, to put the pressure on our government to incentivize renewable jobs, not fossil fuel jobs.
That's terrific. Okay, explain to us how you organize. I mean, take us through what a person would experience in like one of your workshops. But before actually we have to get them to the workshop.
Right.
So are there any that are happening in the area? How do people sign up? People watching this show, we will be putting your email on. We have my email, and I keep telling you, email me. I get lonely at night, you know? No, that's one of the reasons we started the show, to empower citizens.
Exactly.
And that's what we're trying to do, empower you. Go ahead.
Yeah, so actually we have monthly volunteer meetings, like I mentioned, in White Plains. Our next volunteer meeting is Thursday, May 11th at 6 p.m. And the meeting is at the Ethical Culture Society of Westchester, which is on 7 Saxon Wood Road in White Plains. So that's May 11th at 6 p.m. And we have them on a monthly basis where people can come and learn about our campaigns and, like I said, learn about how they can take action. So regarding the EPA, like I mentioned, we're putting all of our pressure on Senator Schumer as the Senate Minority Leader to block Trump's budget proposal, and we have a toll-free number. So the number is 866-961-3208. Again, that's 866-961-3208. And if you call that number, you'll be connected to Senator Schumer's office, and you can make
Great.
a call every day.
Terrific. How about on the other side of the aisle, the Congress? Mm-hmm. Anything there? Now, I realize the Congress is, the Democrats are in the minority. Are there any independents or Republicans that are pro-environment?
Yeah, definitely there are. I mean, Senator Sanders, Bernie Sanders, is on our side on most, if not all, of these issues. But regarding the Environmental Protection Agency and the budget cuts, we really see that we're going to win in the Senate. We don't have the numbers in the House of Representatives, so we're really putting all of our eggs in the basket of the Senate. And we know that, again, with Senator Schumer being the minority leader, that he has that position of authority and he has that power, if he chooses to use it, to marshal his colleagues in unified opposition.
Great. Okay, tell us what happens at your workshops.
Like I said, at the volunteer meetings, we talk about our different campaigns. So right now, some of the campaigns, the EPA campaign that we've been talking about, On the state level, we're really putting pressure on Governor Cuomo. Like I mentioned earlier, he did ban fracking in 2014, which was a major success after 5 years of petitioning him and phone banking and rallying and really following him everywhere he went.
Wow.
We would show up at his fundraisers and make a lot of noise, and thousands of people across the state were involved in the fracking campaign.
If people want to show up at one of those events, who could you give us a number, or who do they contact? How do they know where it's at?
So one way to stay updated with Food and Water Watch meetings or rallies or any upcoming action is to sign up for our text list. So if you text the word resist to the number 69866. So the number is 69866. That's what you put in the 2. And then the word that you type is resist. And you'll sign up for the text updates, and you'll hear all about our upcoming campaigns and petitions to sign.
Terrific, terrific. We have a county executive race coming up in Westchester. And I would assume, because you speak at numerous organizations, I noticed that a lot of people have been showing up at County Executive Astorino's. Meet the county executive. You know, they have those. Or many politicians do. I think that's wonderful, and I applaud the county executive for having those meetings. But some of these policies also that where they sell off land for commercial use to corporations, and then and also with the Westchester Airport, they're concerned about the fact that if they commercialize it, then what happens to the people living in those areas, in Armonk, in Harrison, White Plains, you know, then they may not have any control over population, over environmental standards, and all of that. So basically, if they respond to you, then they could voice their opinions at those meetings, right, with local officials, county legislators, etc.
Exactly. Yeah. Again, it's about using our collective voice to tell our elected officials that they need to do their job to protect our health and safety and our climate. And so at our meetings, we, again, talk about the issues, and then we strategize. You know, how can we make our voices known? Is that through generating thousands of calls to their office, or organizing rallies, or writing letters to them?
Now, due to the fact that we have the internet and people have their computers, if they are disabled or elderly and they can't get out of the house, can they work from the house?
For sure. I mean, there's so many ways to contribute, right? You can spread the word on social media and ask your friends to send an email to their elected official, or even using social media itself to, hashtag your elected official, call them out in public on social media and tell them to, ban fracking pipelines or protect our water. And another way is just to spread the word through email to your friends. We find that when people share the email that we send to their networks, then people respond more, right? Because if you hear it from a friend, you're more likely to take action than just hearing it from a stranger. Could
you, again, the average person may not have time to understand some of these things, or to just know what's out there. The water privatization plan, what do they want to do? Commercialize totally?
Yeah, so this is part of Trump's infrastructure package that we're very concerned about. He wants to privatize our water system, sell our water to Wall Street for a profit. And Food and Water Watch is very against water privatization. We've seen that when that happens, the rates usually go up. The service usually worsens because the water company is no longer accountable to the citizens. Right now, it's only accountable to its stockholders. So we very much oppose privatization, and we're concerned about that plan within Trump's infrastructure package. Now, nothing's on the table yet, but he's given inclinations that he's moving in that direction. So we are urging our members of Congress to support the Water Act. And this is a bill that would increase federal funding for publicly owned and operated water systems. We know that we've seen huge issues with lead contamination across the country, from Flint to schools in the Bronx showing extremely high levels of lead. So we're calling on our members of Congress to co-sponsor the Water Act legislation that would increase funding for replacing those lead pipes and replacing drinking water fountains in schools, again, only for publicly owned systems, not giving money to privately owned systems.
Is this affecting middle class areas too?
This is affecting everyone across the country. I mean, there are millions of lead service lines across the country, and our water infrastructure is crumbling. I mean, many of the pipes that we have are a century old or half a century old. So we know that studies show that we need $35 billion annually nationwide to upgrade our water and sewer systems.
With renewable energy, I'd like you to go into that a little bit. And also, if we push for more renewable energy, are there jobs with that? Because what the Trump administration tries to say to coal miners and these other industries that produce toxic fluids and waste and all this, we're going to save your jobs. And these people panic and they say, well, we have to eat, and that's why we support it. Yeah. Not because we necessarily want it.
Yeah.
Do you have any words of wisdom?
Yeah. Well, definitely we need job retraining programs, right? So most of us know that Governor Cuomo announced that he wants to close Indian Point Power Plant here in Westchester, and he said that he will be providing a job retraining program to shift those workers to clean energy jobs. And so we know we need those programs, and the government can incentivize them, again, if it has the pressure to do so. And like I already said, there is analysis that already shows that there are more clean energy jobs in this country already than fossil fuel industry jobs. And I also wanted to say water. Like I said, we have millions of lead pipes across this country. Water infrastructure upgrades creates millions of jobs. So for every $1 billion invested in upgrading those lead pipes or other water infrastructure problems, we would create 20,000 jobs for every $1 billion invested.
Now, is it true also, well, they say renewable energy because it doesn't take anything from the earth, correct? Mm-hmm. As where with fracking, you're actually taking those minerals, and once you take them out, and once the gases are there, it's not just that the gas creates a more dangerous situation, but we've lost those minerals from the ground forever.
Yeah, and methane, natural gas, which there's this misperception that it's clean energy. Actually methane traps heat 87 times more effectively than carbon dioxide does. So it's a huge contributor to climate change.
Okay. Now, besides that, so we said solar energy is safer than fossil fuels like windmills and other
solar, wind, geothermal. Those are all great options that we're advocating for instead of dirty fossil fuels and dangerous nuclear power.
Right. They're very tricky with their advertising. What should consumers be aware of when they try to advertise to use fossil fuels?
Yes, you really have to do your research. And again, like I said, there's this misperception that natural gas is clean. Or Governor Cuomo, he's trying to support nuclear energy and include that in his clean energy standard, which we totally disagree with. And we know that not only is nuclear energy very dangerous and it produces radioactive byproducts, but within the process of creating nuclear energy, you use fossil fuels, from the creation of the infrastructure to the mining and milling of uranium. So right now, Cuomo is actually, he supported a bailout using our tax dollars, $7.6 billion of New Yorkers' tax money to prop up 3 nuclear power plants here in New York State. And we're calling on Cuomo to stop that and to use New Yorkers' tax dollars for real renewable energy, like I mentioned.
Now, is there another workshop in Westchester County? I see this.
Yes, so there's an upcoming Westchester Social Forum, which is a day-long event where many, many organizations from Food and Water Watch to Westpac Foundation, We'll be talking about social and environmental justice issues. So it's a day-long event where you can learn about the work of these great organizations in Westchester. It's Saturday, May 20th at 10 a.m. at the New Rochelle High School, and you can find more information by going to westchestersocialforum.org.
Terrific, terrific. So you're keeping everybody on, and there are other organizations also that complement your work too, right?
Oh yes, I mean, if it was Food and Water Watch alone, we wouldn't win, right? We win by working together with individuals and with allied organizations, all types of organizations, from places of worship to fellow environmental groups, to political clubs and unions. It's when all of us come together that our collective voice is strongest.
Okay, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show, and you've enlightened me, and I hope you've enlightened many of our audience, many members of our audience.
Thanks so much,
Thank
Dennis.
you. In closing, I would like to make the following comments. The goal of this program is to enlighten, educate, and mobilize, thus empowering average citizens to change their lives for the better. If you agree with the information that was presented, this is your opportunity through civic participation to take the first step. Please email us at profile.issue@yahoo.com and let us know your opinion on these topics. You can email Greta Zarro at gzarro@fwwatch.org. This is Dennis Rudin saying so long for Profiles and Issues.